They have caught a woman in the very act of adultery. So they brought him to Jesus, knowing that the law of Moses said she must be stoned, and knowing that Jesus, if he said stone her, would go against the Roman law, which forbade execution by Jews. Or if he said, don't stone her, then he was going against the law of Moses. In other words, they trapped him between the law of Rome and the law of Moses. Do you see? It is perfectly true that the law of Moses said she must be stoned. So what did Jesus do? He wrote with his finger in the dust. Now, to a Jew, that means one thing. That's a claim to be God. It's a claim to be the one who wrote the 10 Commandments with his finger on the stone. It was Jesus saying, I wrote that law. Now, Jews would come to that conclusion. We don't when we hear it read in church, because we're not Jewish. A finger writing. I hear preachers say, now what did Jesus write? That's not the point. In a vivid act, he's claiming to be responsible for that law, as he did all the way through the Sermon on the Mount, incidentally. Moses, but I say unto you, this is what I meant when I gave that law. This was my intention behind it. And then Jesus reminded them of another law of Moses which they'd forgotten, and that is, it's a very simple law. It says, nobody can be a witness in a criminal charge if they have ever committed the same crime. So when Jesus said, he that is without sin, let him throw the first stone, he did not mean you've got to be 100% morally perfect before you can punish anyone. That's how most Gentiles take it. But you see, that would rule out parents punishing children or police punishing. It would rule out all the law courts, because no judge is without sin. But he was quoting the law that said, if you have never committed adultery, you can be a witness in this case. And that's when they began to go away, one by one, beginning with the oldest. The young ones tried to brazen it out, but even they had to admit that they'd done it. So in fact, the witnesses were dismissed on the basis of the law. Do you follow me? Then he looked up, he said, where are your accusers? Where are the witnesses? They're all gone? Yes, they're all gone. Now then, another point of the law was that there had to be witnesses, 2 or 3. And of course the case had to be dropped. Jesus said, neither do I condemn you. No, just because he was not a witness and there were no other witnesses. Case dismissed. Neither do I condemn you. But he said, don't do it again. I might not be around to defend you. If you get into trouble, do get Jesus as your lawyer. I mean, it is a brilliant piece. He was showing, I know the law better than you do. And I'm going to use the very law of Moses to sort out this situation. Isn't it? It's an amazing story. But when she'd gone, and notice he said, now don't do it again. Because mercy is not offered to us to go back into sin, but to stop doing it. He then said to the crowd that had gathered, I am the light of the world. He who follows me won't walk in darkness, but he'll have the light of life. Now that tells us a profound truth about what light is meant to be. It is not what we say or do, it's what we are. What he's saying is that woman would never have got into that situation if she'd followed me. Because that's a situation of darkness, moral darkness. And the man with her, and all the men who accused her, they were all living in darkness. And if you follow me, you don't get into that kind of a mess. It's really a very simple situation. But he had actually shown them all up, hadn't he? He'd shown them all up, exposed their bad ways, and exhibited the better way. Don't do it again. Don't sin anymore. Now then, the only action that we have to do as light is put ourselves on a lampstand. In other words, there is a responsibility deliberately to put yourself in public view. Now that's a difficult thing for Christians to do, because hiding your light is no use to anybody else. You may be shining by yourself, but that's not going to help anyone else. Now then, what is it that we have to let shine? The answer is, Christians are to be seen for having a higher standard of living than everybody else, but not in material ways, in moral ways. A higher moral standard of living.